I am really excited to talk to you about today's topic. And whew, I just broke one of my rules, which is I said, I'm really excited. Oh, like I'm sure a lot of people are allergic to that particular particular phrase. Or I am delighted, right? Because do we talk like that in real life? And that's my question for you today. Do you speak ideal clientish? Do you? Do you know, if you were to look at your phone and you were like, oh, okay, let me have a look here and let me go and interact and talk to my ideal client, would you be like, okay, yeah, I speak ideal clientish? Um, you know, maybe you wouldn't. Okay. And that is totally fine. It is totally fine to admit that you don't speak ideal clientish, right? But wow, it helps your business so much if you do. Okay. I'm going to read you a quote. Look at my lovely notebook. Let me show you my lovely notebook. It's beautiful, isn't it? I'm going to read you a quote by the lovely and honestly super talented Marissa Corcoran because, well, I just love what she does. She is an amazing copywriter and she teaches people how to write better emails, among so many other things. Okay. And I got an email from her the other day and I was like, oh, that is spot on. Okay. So tell me if you are guilty of this. If you're a coach, are you guilty of saying something like this? Are you ready to abandon the status quo and step into your power? Uh, what does that even mean, right? Like so often, either in our like previous profession, if you worked in a corporate role, or your training, there can be echo chambers, can't there? Like if you came from a corporate role, sometimes there's like a bit of a corporate hangover, and you do say stuff like, I'm delighted to present to you um this magnificent course that will really accelerate your whatever. But maybe you're trying to connect with people who don't talk like that, right? So what I love is Marissa said, "Why not change? You're ready to abandon the status quo and step into your power with." Change it, swap it with. You want to leave your soul sucking job in the dust and create a career that fulfills you. Boom! Like smashed it. Didn't like, oh, that's the difference between like talking ideal clientish and just talking like, in an echo chamber of people like you who aren't connecting with the people that they want to help. Okay. And quite often we can just understandably get caught up in that world. And we are communicating with people who are all the same as us, and they aren't actually our clients, and we just don't speak their language. So of course, I'm not going to come on and go, you know, so there. Of course, I'm going to come and suggest some solutions for you. Okay. So here are some suggestions. I suggest that you, you know, show them in your posts that you get them by, for example, well, preferably if you've worked with me or if you've been hanging out with me or you've been following me at all for any time at all, you'll know that I really recommend that you choose an ideal client who's really close to you or that honestly you really like. deeply inside your heart, soul, and mind understand. I really, really recommend that you do not work with people who you just don't speak their language. Um, because you'll struggle, first of all, to talk to them. You'll struggle to connect with them. You will struggle to be in their space and in their platform, and you won't be able to have the same cultural references as them, and you might be like thinking, well, what does that matter, Elaine? What does that matter if we didn't all watch that 70s show together? What does it matter if I never watched Schitt's Creek? What does it matter if I don't use gifs in my communication? Well, it does matter. It matters a lot. I'll tell you what, and I'll tell you why. I'll tell you what, and I'll tell you why. Because um, you can create communication shortcuts with people when you can use pop culture references that they get. You know, um, so for example, for me, if I talk to somebody about like Coco Melon, I know that that mum is in the trenches with me. She is using Coco Melon to potty train. Like, she is like driven, demented by peas, peas. Let's all eat our peas, right? I know that mum or dad, like, I know that dark space that they're in, you know? And like, there's a certain chemistry that you get from somebody who you really deeply understand. And, you know, if you want to work with somebody who's out of target, it's just going to be so much harder for you, especially if you're a solopreneur, because you're just not going to be able to have that empathy and that message and those shortcuts that just come to you easier if you're, in the same kind of demographic or at the same stage of life, or if you can't ask them. Okay. So, if you are at a completely different life stage to your target market, then what I say to you is go and talk to them and ask them random questions like, hey, what's your favorite TV show? Or, oh my goodness, like, where are you hanging out? Like, are you on Instagram? Like, I was at the hairdresser yesterday and we were talking about this. And she was like, "Oh my god, like no one my," she was 25, "No one my age is on Facebook, no." Um, and you know, the other thing is that she was telling me a story where she had been working at a salon where the women were in their 40s and 50s, and I was just laughing because obviously I am in my late 40s. I was like, "Mm." And she said to me that by virtue of the fact that her her age was that she was the youngest in the salon, they wanted her to do the Instagram, and she was just like, yeah, but with you know in all due respect, everyone who went to the salon was much older. And she was like, I don't know whether they're really going to be into what I post about. Eventually, she left, but the salon got somebody to post. But she was like, there was such a disconnect between who they were trying to get and what they were posting. So I want you, you know what I say, go and get your objective spectacles out. And I want you to go and look at what you're posting. And I also want you to look inside and go, okay, honestly, do I understand my ideal clients? Like, if they are much younger or much older or in a profession that you just don't get, then go and talk to them, go and find out where they are, go and find out what they love to watch, ask those kind of questions. And I know you might be like, oh, Lena, really, why do I need to know what their favorite TV show is? But imagine getting the amount of emails that you get these days. Okay. I get honestly bombarded. But the ones that stand out for me are the ones where there's like something funny about Schitt's Creek in it, you know, and it just shortcuts. It just goes, oh, I just have a chuckle, and I read the next one, and that's why. That's why you need to know. That's why you need to know, um, you know, what people are actually watching. You need to know like what gifts they love. You need to know where they are. You need to be interested in them. And if you're not, then they're probably not the right people for you. Your ideal clients are people that you're interested in, you know? And just imagine that you had like all your followers on Instagram were, or on LinkedIn or Facebook, were your ideal clients. And you could just really easily talk to them, and they got you, and they subscribe to like get more engaged with you by, signing up for your list. Okay. Well, then how amazing if you could chat to them like a friend, and you weren't like saying awkward things to them like, I'm really excited to tell you about my latest whatever signature program that will help you to enhance your life. Like, we don't talk like that, you know? Uh, and while, like, I certainly mention signature programs, hey, and you know, I do use some marketing buzzwords. Some of them just slip out, I'm sorry. But we do use sometimes terminology, okay? But honestly, if that's not who your ideal client is, then you have to perfect your ideal clientish, as I've called it, your ideal clientish language. Um, so that you can show them in your posts, so that you can show them that you get them when you post and when you share your perspective, so that they can visualize themselves working with you, so that they will get the results that they want to get, because they'll be able to actually hear your advice, okay, listen to it actively and take action on it, because they know that they can trust you because you get them and you understand them. And honestly, that does start on Instagram, on LinkedIn, wherever you are, on TikTok. And it just makes life so much easier if you have some kind of connection to your ideal client. Look, you don't have to look like your ideal client. You don't even have to be the same age as them. Look, I'm 47, but I have a 4.5-year-old. Okay. So, and my daughter has additional needs. She is probably into Coco Melon, or maybe that might be a bit like too young for other kids. Do you know what I mean? Um, so find a person who you're like two steps up the ladder from. Um, find that person who you can really easily relate to, and talk to them like a person. Show up like the person you are, and speak to them like you would like to be spoken to. Do you know what I mean? Yeah, that is my advice for my this week's video. Because honestly, if you can show up as you are, help your ideal client the way you are, then it just takes so much less effort, doesn't it? If when I started out in in media. This is my last anecdote, and then I'm going to go. When I started out in media as a 25-ish year old TV buyer, yeah, I was like one of the only women who was a buyer on the beer brands. And the person who took over after me they were like, oh, maybe you shouldn't be in charge of the beer brands. And she was like, well, hang on a second, Elaine was in charge of the beer brands. And they were like, yeah, but the target is men, la 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 la. Now listen, that was a bit of nonsense because we had data that we used, a system. But I also grew up in a house of guys, and I would just ask my brother about football. And like it was just going in my ear the whole time. I couldn't really avoid it, even if I wanted to. So it was easy for me to identify and to connect with that target audience. But what about you? Okay, that came easy for me because of my brothers, because at the time we lived together, I was able to observe them in their natural habitat. But if you are especially a career coach, and you want to help like younger people, or you want to help people going into retirement, then you kind of need to be around people in that headspace, and you need to be able to be like in a position where you can embrace the platform that they're on. And that might be TikTok. And that may not be that hard to do. But you have to be ready to do it. You have to be ready to show up where they are and to talk their language. So are you ready? Are you ready? And if you're not, just ask yourself, why am I ready? And if you're like really struggling with it, then maybe you need to go back to the drawing board and either go and ask lots of questions and go and have coffees with your ideal client and get to know them a bit better and figure out the way in. Or maybe you actually just need to reevaluate who you want to talk to and who you want to help. Okie dokes, that's me. Have a great week, and let me know in the comments who your ideal client is, and if you need any help with speaking their language, then I'd be delighted to help you. Bye. See you.